Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to scale, exit, and preserve the legacy of your business. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today I'm joined by Manny Soar, founder and CEO of AI Growth Factory, a company dedicated to helping entrepreneurs scale faster and smarter through AI-powered growth systems. Manny is a growth strategist and a business architect with a track record of helping organizations unlock growth and revenue efficiently, fusing automation, data, and human creativity. At AI Growth Factory, Manny and his team design and implement intelligent systems that free founders from bottlenecks, giving them clarity and capacity to grow on their own terms. We're going to talk today about Manny's journey as an entrepreneur, the rise of AI in scaling businesses, and what it takes to lead teams through innovation while building sustainable success. Welcome to the podcast, Manny.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for the introduction. I will use it
Absolutely.
myself in the future.
Yeah, very excited to have you on. Looking forward to this conversation. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to start off by giving you the opportunity if you could please share your background, going way back, how you got involved in entrepreneurship, and then eventually what led to the founding of AI Growth Factory.
well, I've kind of fallen into things, and the AI Growth Factory is one of them because this is how we met. I'm also looking at buying businesses, and the first question that came up is, when you buy a business, how can you improve it? And I know from my past experience, which I will explain, that digital transformation is one of the proven ways, together with the profit and the people and the promotion. So whilst I was looking more into that, and given my background in digital and technology, I thought, well, why not set up a AI growth factory so that we can work with businesses. And I mean, there are different size businesses. You have the enterprise level businesses, but I mean, the backbone of the economy is small, medium, and large companies. And given my past history, I also thought, well, why not professional firms? So that's where we're at the moment. I mean, my background is, I would say, three legs. I mean, I've been a co-founder of startups, happened to be in insurance. But the first one I started in '99, which was an online insurer. And you had to build your own systems because you couldn't just get them off the shelf, like billing systems, data
Sure.
warehousing. I mean, today you can plug into, say, a tool like Adyen or another payments, whatever payment systems you need. But for online at that time, everything from billing to accounting to data warehousing, you had to build from scratch. So that's how I got involved in, you would say, digital transformation. Before that, I was a consultant to PricewaterhouseCoopers, implementing ERP systems,
Got
Oracle.
it.
But I'd started at KPMG as a financial auditor. So I have a background in, and I worked for a short while at JP Morgan because I was in London. So the most of our audit clients were uh, financial service companies, but I didn't really think that was for me. So I kind of fell into the technology because the internet came along, and that was back in '98, and then we created one of the first online insurers, which we ran for about 14, 15 years
Got it. Yeah.
in Europe. So in the UK, in Netherlands, in Spain, Germany. And that's where I, started really putting together my financial, because it's insurance background, technology, and processes, and that's moving on from there. Yeah, I mean, buying companies got me to AI Growth Factory.
Sure. Yeah. No, and that's awesome. You have extensive background. That I'm sure the financial side of things comes into play a lot with when you help businesses, implement AI as well?
Yeah, well, the approach we take is, I mean, there are a lot of very good young AI agencies and AI personnel. I'm probably, well, I would say compared to the average age older, but we take a slightly different, I mean, a business first, different approach. First thing a business has to look at is AI is just another form of digital transformation helping a business. So it has to look at how does it perform its profits, its revenues, its costs, but also the value creation. What value can it create? And then you move on to, okay, what are the AI opportunities? But the AI today is AI plus digital automation.
Mm.
So it's the two legs that stand together. So this is why you need to look at from a strategic perspective, but the reality is you've also got to implement and build, which has some of its own challenges. The biggest one is integration and the people side, which is again about people transformation. Um, so that's kind of where we come from. We look at, can we identify AI automation opportunities that can help a business grow, perform better, be efficient, or make better decisions?
Yeah, definitely. How do you go about identifying those areas of bottlenecks in companies that design the solutions for?
Well, I mean, perhaps that's my benefit coming from our background and having built systems, having run systems, having acquired systems, having built processes from scratch, and not only in finance, by the way, but in marketing, in compliance, in different areas. I mean, over time with bigger teams in the startup environment. And I also worked in a small, medium-sized business where, as a manager, I had to do everything myself for a period. Um, what I discovered is we actually created a system which has four legs. The first leg is what we call the AI growth compass, which is where you identify the opportunities. The second leg is the AI growth factory, where you build, you test and build, you pilot, test. Then we have, what is the third one? Tira, I call it Tira, which is basically the foundations, because the business already has systems, workflows, data, maybe has to deal with compliance. And you have to take those factors into account because depending on what you're implementing, there's a level of integration, which is also very key. And the fourth layer is the AI Growth Academy. Now, what that does is basically train the people, train them either from a leadership governance perspective, because that is very key, or from a actually using the tools perspective, or even more importantly, maintaining and improving them, or even as far as developing them. So those four legs we developed ourselves, that kind of framework. But within that, we use some methodologies. It's not that we developed any of them new, but it's how we put them together. Because coming
Mm.
from the startup background, there's a certain approach. Coming from a Price Waterhouse, even working with McKinsey's in the past,
Hmm.
more as a client of this. I mean, not out of choice because nobody wants to pay their bills, but as a startup with large shareholders working in the financial services space, we had to work with them. So bringing that together, so it's relevant for small, medium, large companies. That's the benefit of today with AI. You can use methodologies and frameworks to really help a business that would not have been available, would not have been affordable. Um,
Mm.
for small, medium, large companies. And today they're available. The only thing is finding the people who bring the skill sets. And this is why we like to combine the strategic part with the build part. Some companies do only strategy, some do build. Now, we recognize that we ourselves may not have all the skills, also because things are changing. So we have partners or we have developers we work with, but what we
Yeah.
bring is the robustness in understanding how it all fits together. I think we can confidently say we have more commercial experience and build experience than most agencies do because of our backgrounds, but we do also have the rigor of working in consultancies. but it gives you a different mindset if you've been, you can relate more with the leadership or the people doing the work because you've done it yourself. I mean, I've
Hmm.
built workflows in the past myself and actually operated them, not just handed them off to somebody, and tried to improve them and work with people on the daily operations in marketing, in the insurance world, in the claims, on all the processes. So that's where we're coming from.
Got it. Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense.
So
It's
just to put an over, so we start with, okay, what value can we create? Does this impact the profits, the revenue, the cost? What are the value drivers? And then from the value drivers, what are the KPIs? Because you should have that in your business. Now, some businesses, they don't have that. So we call that as a bit of an extra value. We will give you those. It's not that we will necessarily implement them across all of your business unless you ask us to do that. So let's stick with something very practical. For example, if you're a sales-driven organization, I mean, what you care about is the return on investment on what you invest and the benefit it brings your business, maybe financial benefit. And of course, there's another element to it, the people and customer side. So you need to, but the customer side we call the growth side. So you have the profit side, the growth, customer growth, which is not necessarily that you get more customers, but retaining them, make sure that they're serviced better. Then you have are you creating value for your business? More cash flow, more enterprise value. And then you have the capital side, which is, we call it capital, but like the human capital. How does it impact on your people? So
got it.
we're covering all that, but actually what we're delivering, practical delivering, is a process or a workflow that is digitally enabled and integrating with what you have. So you can do things either better, faster, or cheaper. So sales could be a good example. I mean, you could say, well, yeah, how can we improve our sales? But is that, if you're a B2B organization, is that because you need more leads? Is it because you need the quality of the leads need to improve? Is it that you need to convert them better? Is it that your salespeople need to perform better? Now, with the AI, we can help you in all four areas.
Mm.
And that is the power of the tooling. Now, of course, if you've got, I don't know, 1,000 salespeople, it's a different exercise to actually implement it than if you say have 50, because it's fairly common sense. With less people, you can go faster, you can be more agile, and you can get the results faster, assuming there is not massive resistance, because the people element always comes into it, and this requires the leadership to buy into it.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Got
now
it.
it's also the case that so there's a little bit of education for some businesses, and we'll come back to that point because, or maybe we deal with that now because, of course, a lot of this depends on the type of business, on the leadership's comfort with technology. But with the younger generations, most of them are quite comfortable with technology. How long the business has been running, what systems does it currently operate on,
Hmm.
what is the goal? I mean, because AI can also reduce the headcount, but of course, in my opinion, the smaller the organization is, there's a big difference between an enterprise organization with tens of thousands of people that says, okay, we will withdraw one third or half of the headcount, because they still have 50% of probably high quality people left. And a smaller organization has to be very careful that they don't, they can reduce the headcount, or what is more likely is that they can do more with the same amount of people. And then the
Mm.
other question that always comes up with the people side is, so yeah, do we get rid of people? You can do, but the thing is, perhaps those people should have been got rid of anyway. There will be a gray area in between, and that's where it
Hmm.
gets tricky. But in most cases, it's not reducing headcount depending on the size of the organization. It's more like getting the people to be able to do more and better, and also to provide coverage when the people are not there. But the human touch is actually more valuable, in my opinion,
Mm.
because having a human that you can actually creates more value, creates a better retention, a better stickiness in a sales to sales environment, B2B, even in a consumer organization,
Hmm.
where you can have. So that's the sales example. But at the end of that process, you're probably going to have a person speaking to a person to close the sale, depending on what type of
Sure.
thing you're selling on a B2B. But can you improve the performance of the salesperson? Yes, because you can take your best sales performer, record their conversations, see how they, not only what they say, but also what tone and emotion they use. And you can do that with AI. And you can do that by hiring an outside firm to train your staff, but it's a lot cheaper and more effective, can be as effective than hiring specialist firms to do that with your sales team. You can improve by doing by getting more leads, improving the quality of them by doing
Hmm.
research. This is faster. You can do it faster and better than somebody physically having to do it. You can also activate leads that are sitting in your CRM database
Mm.
that you haven't, in a fact, because you can go through them faster, you can research them faster, you can create emails or letters or phone scripts that are personalized. So that's the example of a sales B2B, even
Sure.
in the consumer world. So here's another question that's often asked: where do you start?
Yeah,
And
that's one of, yeah, that's
say,
what I was gonna
I
get to.
would say, sales and marketing are the quicker wins.
Mm.
Also, because the level of integration is, you buy tools, you put them there, use them, and then you may integrate. Because, for example, a B2B, maybe the key integration will be with the CRM system, or they may have other systems they're using in their customer support, for example. But that is more if they're doing customer support by phone.
Mm.
So, putting all these channels together, somebody contacts you via the web, somebody contacts you via direct message, somebody contacts you via the phone call. But AI provides you coverage when, for example, 24/7 hour coverage, but also the first level support,
Mm.
or even the second level. And in some cases, with quite sophisticated call centers where the person calling is you're talking about sophisticated callers who are very technically competent, but the AI has to be trained in that. That's not a one-off, it's a iterative process, but it
Mm.
can do first level, second. But for third level, of course, you need a human at the end, either for the
Sure.
personal touch or because it's very technical or very, complicated, that you need the person. But you also need the people to train and set up the systems.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It's a balance.
Yeah,
You
it
can't
does
just
balance.
completely replace, right?
But AI, I mean, it has some quite impressive statistics on what it can do. Now, you could argue, oh, should we take them with a pinch of salt? But if you do some rough, because you need to look at the statistics, are they talking about large enterprises? Are they talking about SMBs? I think you call them in the States SMBs, small, medium
Mhm.
sized enterprise businesses. Um, but the other challenge is actually achieving those, because they're referring to best in class. And the number of companies that fall into that category are minimal. And there is still America, North America, especially the US, I think is still ahead compared to Europe, where I'm based, in the adoption. But for everywhere, it's going fast. Large enterprises. Uh,
Yeah.
and the mindset, I think, is the most important, because, I mean, AI, in my opinion, is not hype. I mean, I've been involved in the ERP stage,
Mhm.
which was automizing whole workflows, enterprise resource planning tools.
Mhm.
Then I've been involved in the internet, which at the beginning was more a distribution channel, but it resulted in new tools that were enabled to work online. And then you got cloud computing, which allowed SaaS tools, which is basically most people are using software, which is SaaS, software as a service. And then from there, you've got other technologies that have come. I mean, social media was built on technology, but it's a different type of technology. So I personally don't think AI. There will be, with all these technology, the curve is not a straight up, exponential. There's going to be some ups and downs on the way. But
Sure.
the difference is, I mean, we live in an era where most people are quite literate digitally, even if they feel they're not. The AI tools, maybe to set up, they take some knowledge and experience, but to use them, mostly they're quite straightforward in terms of the user interfaces. That's one of the benefits. The integration can be complex into existing systems. The data is the key part. Good data. And this is why stripping out certain processes which will add the most value is the way to go, rather than trying to do the whole company. Because you can do quick wins quite easily. The thing is to identify the quick wins, run a pilot. So that's the compass, find your direction, find the 5 or 6 opportunities on a couple of building blocks. Existing workflows, what's the most value creation in terms of profit, like we talked about, but also human capital, also customer growth and cash flow. Then maybe rank them in what's the easiest to implement. Then the factory is implement, do a pilot, fast pilot, just to get a working model. And then from there, build it into a production that it's integrated, maybe with, it depends on how many systems that it needs integrating with. Ensure the data is, if you've got historical data for that specific process. And then, so then we're on the 3rd stage, the tier. And then the 4th is, train the people. Well, they'll be participating in the project because they need to help you define the existing workflows. Where can you add the AI and the automation? So that's how we work. We're not alone in that because we have cooperations with some other agencies, one in America and one in New Zealand. So we know, what the best practices are.
Sure.
So we're not
Yeah.
doing it in isolation, we have, and of course, I mean, we're doing training courses because theoretically, like with everything, anybody can do it. But if you want to spend, like I'm personally doing myself, maybe between 10, 20 hours per week building things, so that you know how the tools work, even if I'm not going to do all the build myself. Because the strategic part, I mean, on the financial commercial side, we bring a lot of experience, but the tools are changing constantly. What's best? What do they do? The LLMs, what are the risks? What are the guardrails? What do you need to consider for security, compliance?
What kind of businesses do you think benefit most from the approach?
Well, the thing is, all of them can, but it's just the challenges and the approach has to be tuned. So let's start with a baseline, which may not apply. I don't know what type of people listen to the podcast, but it just gives a kind of a startup today. So but mostly startups are digital startups. I mean, the future, I don't know if they're going to be the future Googles, but there are startup accelerators. A well-known one in the US is called Y Combinator. You have similar ones. Actually, I mentored on some in the UK, some global ones based based out of Netherlands, but they're quite global. So today, Y Combinator said a couple of things. One, that theoretically there is the one-person company that could be a $1 billion company, but okay. That may just be the hype statement, but the reality is you can get a few people who understand the commercial side of things and have some digital literacy that could build a company that runs into the hundreds or even billions just using AI agents. Now, you could
Hmm.
say there is a kind of, I mean, e-commerce is an example where you can use technology. You don't need many people using tools like Shopify. And by the way, tools like Shopify and also SaaS tools, software tools, are incorporating AI.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the one layer. You could have some new small, medium-sized businesses where the owners are confident with technology that can apply AI together with SaaS, because you need to be quite confident to use only AI agents
Mhm.
because you need to build them, monitor them, manage even if they're powerful. But there are some younger people building systems just using AI agents for smaller companies, and they say their base system will cover 80%, and then the 20% is fine tuning. I've seen some examples. I've had some conversations. A group of guys in there. So it's not like this is
Wow.
theory.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's for either companies that have hardly no technology or new ones, even if they're small or medium. For most companies, you already have systems, you already have processes. It's a question of automating and adding the AI, either at the front end or as part of an existing middle or back end processes, and getting the benefits.
Sure. Yeah. And you mentioned sales and marketing is probably the most ripe area of the business that for
Well,
automation is or AI where it has the most impact. Would you say that's right, or what are other business
it's
operations day to
more
day that can be improved upon?
it's just a more logical place to start because the return on investment is not limited if you think about it in sales or marketing.
Mm,
Any action you take in sales and marketing can have a bigger, theoretically, can have a bigger impact because there's no, the maximum is your organization's ability then to um, serve those customers. When you
sure.
get into other processes, there are opportunities as well, but that's to help your team work faster and better and even make better decisions. So let's take a conversation that was had by a guy called, if I remember his name correctly, Peter Diamandis of Singularity University. So these are the more futurists, but this is something practical today. Before, as a business person, if you're big, small, medium, to find mentors, people with experience, was very valuable. I mean, can you imagine having Warren Buffett as your mentor, or
Sure. Yeah.
having you can think of some other well-known businessmen in America, or Richard Branson from Virgin, uh,
Hmm.
or Mark Zuckerberg, or
Right. Elon Musk. Yeah.
or
Whoever. Yeah.
or Jeff Bezos. But today you can, because you can use ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity,
Mm,
and train them to help you in your decision making.
sure. By feeding content, right?
Well, you can
This
even say, think like Jeff Bezos. How
mm,
would Jeff Bezos look at this problem? And because these LLMs have access to all the information out there, they can, put together a perspective that at least gives you another opinion. It's just like having a mentor
hmm.
in practical, strategic, practical situations. So you can create your own mentorship board or your
Sure.
own advisory board. And
Yeah.
that's a very practical example that doesn't take, I mean, maybe if you want to get a subscription, you're better, because all of these LLMs, I mean, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, have a slightly different perspective.
Hmm.
I always look at ChatGPT as a very good, you could say, as a McKinsey consultant. That it's more, it's very good at presenting information. Claude, in my opinion, in my usage, is more analytical, more grounded, more practical.
Mm,
Especially the analytical, I consider it. And Perplexity is very good at research and giving you
Mm,
facts that are up to date and, well, just as accurate as any other expert, eh? Because even experts can make mistakes. uh,
true. Yep, and Grok is gaining momentum too, right?
well, I haven't used Grok. So, I mean, that's the other thing. There are so many things out there that
Yeah,
the other element is around Microsoft Copilot and
sure.
Google
Yeah,
Gemini, which is a
Gemini.
more natural usage because it's integrated into their existing suites, and that's a good example where the people in if you have a finance team, uh, should be and can be using to just make things a lot faster.
Mm,
So whereas before by hand you had to write out, you get your accounts every month, and every month you had to write a report either for the management or the board, depending how big your company is, or can also be for investors if you're backed by private equity and outside investors. You can set up your systems so that you can get, you know, the LLMs like ChatGPT to help you write those reports much faster, or to identify issues from your financials because they have the actual financials, they can have the budget, the forecast, they can even be set up to help you forecast better and faster.
yeah.
The decision making, you need to keep a clear head because there's always three ways to do this. One is with using some AI, let's call them development tools, but they're not as complex like in the old days to use, but they're development tools. So the average business user will not, you can set up something that is a little bit customized to produce all, for example, the analysis and commentary. Or this is finance. In finance, there are already some existing tools that can do some of this, software tools that are embedding AI. And
Mm,
and the third layer, yeah, is well, there are AI tools, and the third layer is the existing software, SaaS, that has a. So then you just need to be a bit clear, depending on your budgets, on what existing tools, which of those three layers you're going to use.
got it. Yeah, yeah, so many applications and very interesting use cases as well you just brought up.
Yeah, so in the finance, you can start, but there are also AI tools that are going to be are being built, but some of these are relatively new. Where because one of the big things in finance is the month end or year end close,
Mm, hmm.
closing the books. And there's a lot of different processes, but what they're trying to do is streamline it by using AI, which is actually just one step, two steps on, because most modern accounting systems were set up to do already some part of that. Back
Hmm.
reconciliate, reconcile your bank with what's in your accounting system, ensure that the accounts receivables and revenues, the accounts payable. So the AI is one level, the next level up from that.
Yeah, wow, exciting.
That's finance. So that's finance.
Yep.
Do things faster, get the information faster, being able to analyze it, help you with forecasting, um, even helping you with at least knowing what performance indicators your business should be monitoring.
Sure.
I mean, especially when you move from small, medium to large, either because your revenues grow, you need some metrics. And I mean, e-commerce, they have their own metrics. Doesn't mean that they've hired another 200 people, but the revenues grow. You want to see your e-commerce metrics on conversions or your return on ad spend. So every business has them, and
Yeah.
so that's where we come from.
Yeah. Yeah, the actual drivers of value, right?
So coming back to your question, yeah, how does it? So that's the startup, that can be, or a new business with some people that have some digital, are comfortable with technology and digital.
Mhm.
Um, then an existing business, is like, do they have a fairly modern tech stack? I mean, most businesses. So, do you use, I mean, CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce? For accounting, do you use
QuickBook.
Zero or QuickBooks? Or, I mean, if you're bigger, you'll be using maybe Economy. Um, or in Europe, we have Exact and Sage in the UK and Exact in Europe. I mean, we also have Zero and what was the other one? QuickBooks.
QuickBooks,
But
yeah.
they have some elements, they're introducing elements of AI in that.
Hmm.
So there the question is, okay, a little bit of a different question, because then you've got the AI opportunity, building it out, and some element of integration with existing systems.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of what you offer as well, right? Is implementing and change management as well, getting the employees on board with the new processes and technology stack,
Yeah,
right?
because I mean, me personally, but other people that I work with, I mean, I've had first-hand experience of it from both sides. So I was a consultant at PwC. I mean, it's been a while back, but obviously dealing with the larger enterprises, it always ultimately came down to the people. I mean, first the leadership that they're brought in, then the senior management. Now, for small and medium-sized enterprises, it's the same process, but it should be easier, because if the leadership are brought in, then there's less layers. And the benefit today is there are people that within an organization who may not have the label of we're the tech department, that are comfortable and like using technology. And if you want to recruit younger people, it's also a bonus to say, hey, we work with latest technologies. But it's the balance, not technology for the sake of technology or AI for the sake of it. What's the actual benefit for the business?
Mm.
And there will be a hidden cost. The hidden cost will be how people react to it, work with it, and that also has to be brought up. That's the change management, has to be brought up. And also the bit, I mean, implementing, piloting, you need people in the organization to work with if they're
Mm.
using outside parties. But I've seen this from several perspectives. I was an auditor, and that was not always fun to go to large companies, because they conveniently, if they had to do some hard decisions, they did it when the auditors were there, because then it was the auditor's fault. Then as a consultant, I saw how we implemented systems and the change management. And then as a start in a startup and working in some small organizations, I've seen from the other side, um, that people mustn't be, but there is a genuine fear of job losses as well, which they cannot be ignored at all, because there will be and can be an element of that.
Mm. Sure. Yeah. It's a disruptive technology, right?
Yeah.
It's par for the course here.
And the disruption is not only at this, it's also at a strategic level. Now, if you say, well, this AI hype will wait, if you're a small, medium-sized company, the adoption will start slow, but it will get faster. But then the learning curve is also, I mean, if you started the internet earlier, the learning would have, it was more difficult to work with internet, for example, e-commerce, set up the sites, the payments. But the learning curve was easier than if you started later. The tools were easier, but the competition was more.
Mm. Hmm.
And you can make more mistakes at the beginning than when the technology got, easier to use, but the competition were more using, you needed to be faster to get it right. And I think it's going to be a little bit of an element of that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, and we're coming up on time here shortly, Manny. But where on that note, where do you see the biggest opportunities and growth with AI and technology in the next 3 to 5 years? It's changing every day, but if you had
Yeah.
to,
As a practical, I think for businesses, you need to start looking at your marketing and sales, and
mm,
then have people with, depending on the size of your business, have people within the organization. Because here's just one thought to leave you that we all know: people in your organization are already using AI. They may be sitting at home using, they may even be sharing your IP, you know? I mean, I mean, not necessarily with bad intentions, but they are doing it. They may
Hmm.
already be breaking, like in Europe, we had GDPR, which is privacy compliance. They may I mean, the risk is small, but technically they are breaking potentially GDPR by their usage, how they use ChatGPT or whatever Claude. So you better grab it by the, the throat and bring it out into the open, set some policies, and start using it more explicitly in your business and learn as you go along and see where you can get a benefit. Given that the return on investment is quite strong if done properly, there is no reason why not to do it. But yes, it's also the case because of the power of AI that I read a statistic that typically 40% of technology projects fail. And with AI, it's 80%.
80% fail.
Yeah. Because they don't go from piloting to actual production and usage. But it's because there are several levers that you have to manage.
Mm.
And if either you don't have the expertise or you don't bring it in, and it's not only implementing the technology, but what goes around it,
Yeah.
aligning it with your strategy, making sure that the people, that the leadership are bought in, making sure that you find the right technology, you know why you're using it, what the implications for integration and data, how your people are going to react, how they're involved in that you take their knowledge as well,
Hmm.
how you manage any job losses or not, how you reposition the people so that they're excited and motivated, all these. But the payoffs, I believe, can be big.
Yeah. Yep. Start using and iterating. I like that you said too.
Well, the quick wins. We always start with it. We do a, what do? We do a 30-day plan. The now, what we can do right now, what is for the next step, and what is for later. Because you should have something that you can show within 30 days, or that is fairly ready to be implemented within 90 days.
Hmm. Yeah. Of actual
Yeah.
impact to the bottom line or the top line.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how complex the thing is, either something that is really working and will impact, as you say, the bottom line immediately, or it's part of a bigger process, but it actually it's doing something that helps people or helps the customer,
Yeah. Oh,
helps your
absolutely.
staff to work better and more efficiently, or gets rid of a bottleneck that is
Yes.
measurable. That's the key thing. You can measure it. This took us 10 hours, or we used to get this number of faults, or we used to get this number of sport queries, but now this just reduces it drastically.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Manny. That great insight, amazing conversation. Really appreciate all the value you brought today. Yeah, I just want to leave you the floor if you have any closing comments, and please let us know also where listeners can find you and learn more.
Well, I mean, I have my website, aigrowthfactory.com, and there you can even book a call. I mean, we're based in Europe, but on certain projects, we can even work on the US. We have some partners in the US that we can call up for development, for practical build if we need to. But at the moment, we focus ourselves hands-on building. But you can build from anywhere
Mhm.
because it's all mostly done virtually. That's the other big difference. We don't visit um, clients because that's just adding to the costs. They can see
Right.
on LinkedIn, they can see that we're real, they can see we can give some demonstrations of some of the things we've done. And that's how we work.
Awesome.
So I would
Sounds
say
good.
don't
Yeah.
be afraid of technology. I mean, if you can drive a car, then for sure you can operate, you know, technology tools, even with the name, even if they're called AI. That's what I always say to people who say, oh, yeah, but this technology, yeah, but do you know how to drive a car? That's a lot more complicated, or even biking. To learn that's a lot more complicated. Okay, you're not expected to build the car. That's a whole different game. But to use it, and the benefits, payoffs, I believe, and it's proven. You know, the few best-in-class companies that are beginning to use and experiment are seeing results.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, be sure to put in the show notes your website and probably a link to your LinkedIn as well. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
pretty
welcome. I
easy.
have a newsletter there where people can follow. It's called, I think, the AI Growth Compass newsletter.
Hmm.
They can follow things that we write about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Manny,
Well,
thank
thanks for
you.
having me on.
Yeah, great
And it's
talking
good
to
to
you.
do is it cross-Atlantic collaboration?
Yes, sir, exactly. All right, we'll be in touch.